What up, everybody? This is Coffee with Blake, and today I had a little discussion about uh, a pretty big deal of game design that's being discussed. This was discussed by Gavin Vernier of Magic. It's the hybrid mana situation, and I kind of glossed over it. I thought they had already kind of put this into motion, but it's still kind of an ongoing kind of discussion. It hasn't been implemented yet, but basically, instead of having to have a commander that has white and black to play these particular cards, and it's 99 cards for commander. What you could basically do is have a card like Luris be played in a commander that had white in it. Or just simply a commander that had black in it, so just required one of the mana colored symbols, and that other symbol wouldn't exclude it from not being in the deck. So a way of kind of illustrating this is that apparently how I've kind of understood this is that you could have a card like Marchesa, and you could simply have a Luris in the deck because it does have the black mana symbol in it. Well, why would this be a big deal? Well, Marchesa is really interesting because she likes to see things targeted, and there's some really interesting cards that a card like Luris would really gain a lot of value that you usually would not get. So, like a card such as Mishra's Bauble, this card can be activated on an opponent's turn. So, in that manner, you could get value from it in that way, and you could kind of work to get value in different ways through that means. So that's kind of a nice one. One card would actually make sense and would really get a lot of value in this way would be like a Magda, because this only triggers once a turn. So that would make your bauble that much better, because you could basically have a Luris that is bringing it out every turn, that once a turn, and then all of a sudden you have this Magda that usually wouldn't really be getting too much crime value outside the instance and sorcery or instance on your opponent's turns, and now all of a sudden you can be cracking a Mishra's Bauble and getting another treasure and crime all at once. So that's really interesting stuff, right? So having a card like Luris in the Grixis commands, or Grixis colors, especially in a card like Marchesa, where there's a lot of really strong 0, 1, and 2 mana spells that are permanents that kind of affect your opponent's board, and there's a lot of graveyard value. Oh yeah, that's some really really hot stuff. So overall, I kind of want to emphasize how that would be a very interesting mix up to the game. It would probably make power levels kind of jump and go. I know a lot of cards that people have kind of discussed is Manamorphose would be just available in red decks and green decks, instead of having to be in Gruul, which is another interesting inclusion because that's just an extremely powerful card. So overall, just a lot of really cool power levels to consider, and a different way to approach the game in that manner. Not most, it's kind of looking at a crypt gas, but crypt gas was just reminder text. This is actually symbols that have both of the colors and the mana symbol. So it is weird to consider having a Luris in a Marchesa deck, to be honest, but I guess so. So there's that. And then in general, I just kind of wanted to go over some crimes because crimes are cool. Crimes are basically, in the Mishra's Bauble sense, sacrifice Mishra's Bauble, look at the top card of a target player's library, draw a card. So that portion where it says, look at the top of target. So anything that targets an opponent or a creature or a library or a graveyard of an opponent, that would be considered a crime. So yeah, these are just very good. This card is extremely fun in general and extremely powerful. Once you have it's already strong in general, but when you have even a bigger card pool, it gets even more kind of obnoxious, and there's a lot of support for this. I bet there's some cards that you kind of think of, you can think of your free commander spells like Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat, any of those spells where you can, make a cast and then you have a lot of mana left over to kind of pay into that one because you don't want to run out of mana. So free spells in general, or requisite spells that are free, are just really good. Also, you have just these really nice crime enablers. I kind of settled on Magda. I like the kind of the ramp there, and guess just for the nice value of making the zombies. Those are just really good crime enablers in general. This one has built-in ward, which is really nice too. And otherwise, you're just going to be making a lot of zombies. There are also ones a turn each for these, and this one could create a dragon if you sacrifice treasures. So there's that. Maybe some other like things that maybe you want to consider when you're building like your um, Marchesa deck is a card like Sephiroth as well. So these are like the aristocrat effects, and what's really good about them is that they basically are you pay them mana, and it's similar to like the bauble, where you're not really having to invest much to get the target off. Like simply this requires a creature dying, and then you can start targeting a particular opponent, and that would actually meet the requisite for a crime. So there's lots of crimes going off with Sephiroth, and he's just a really nice card in general. Also, Vein Ripper is really cool. Again, this is targeting. These are just like really high impact cards. Nice flyer here that will have an opponent lose a particular life, a target opponent, and there's some nice aristocrat spells that you might not think of too much when you're building a Marchesa deck. Additionally, Dismember is just a really nice 1-mana spell. Basically, you're going to pay the life in most instances, and then that's just really repeatable value. Very easy to pay one and then pay an additional 1 mana that you can kind of look at Marchesa, kind of look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in a graveyard, one into your hand. So really good selection. And then you have Tiny Bones joins up. This is one of my favorites. These just like passive effects that you just simply get continual targeting as more legendaries come on the battlefield. Really, really nice stuff. Really good stuff like Magda too. The Magda we just talked about. You're just like getting like really sweet, repeatable value in crimes because the legendaries are popping in and they set themselves off. Ghost Vacuum is kind of like that Ketramos tech, where you're just basically exiling a particular card from a graveyard. So yeah, that's just another one. It's 1 mana, and you're just doing it like over and over again. So that repeatable value is really nice. The Vine Slasher. This one also will, as lands come in, you'll deal 1 damage to target opponent. Just some really easily crime. You're going to be popping, guys. This deck is crazy. Tiny Bones. This guy just gets into your opponent's graveyard. So a target opponent's graveyard. So really nice stuff for Tiny Bones. Generous Plunder Alert. This will actually create a treasure on your upkeep by targeting an opponent. You'll each create a treasure. Theirs will be tapped, I believe. Yeah, because you'll just create a treasure token, then they create a tapped one. Emperor of Bones is just absolutely obnoxious. This thing will actually target an opponent's graveyard in each instance, and then it has that ability to reanimate from the adapt too. For a turn, a target creature in a graveyard. So it's the one that was already exiled. So yeah, it targets like crazy. Orcish Bowmasters, similarly, with just each time an opponent draws additional card, you're targeting. Palantir of Orthanc, just like another really sweet, like kind of passive one where you just pay 3 into it, and then it just really punishes your opponents. It does target, of course, a particular opponent. You're going to probably put a lot of cards in your graveyard and do a lot of damage with this. Otherwise, you're going to draw. And then I believe this was just, yes, this is actually a very important card. This is one of the orchards, and it's a land that basically I think it's called Abundant Orchard or one of those. I'll put it in the description, but I do have the card and I was going to prepare it, so sorry for that. But this one will actually create a 1/1 token for a target opponent and will help you create a mana of 1 color. So it's a land that actually does the crime, which is really crazy. Similarly, to illustrate this, these are lands that can do crime. So this will actually target opponent's graveyard and do a crime. And then you have like the requisite spells for having commanders like Deadly Rollick to target exile a target creature, and then basically you can cast a spell without paying this mana cost with Marchesa on the battlefield. These 2 are proxies, so they're not sleeved, but yeah, they're very expensive cards. Similarly, this will change the target of a spell or ability, and this one will actually counter a target non-creature spell. All of them, of course, they can be played without paying its mana cost with Marchesa on the battlefield. So really good stuff. And then you have these elementals. They all fit the deck very well. Basically, you can exile a card from your hand and they'll do some targeting of some sort. So you have Grief, Subtlety, and Fury. Just really fantastic stuff there. And then you have these really nice efficient removal spells. So this one, if you control a swamp, you may pay 4 life instead of paying Snuff Out's mana cost. Destroy target non-black creature. It can't be generated. So once again, I just have to have a swamp and take some life loss, and I'm going to be definitely going to be able to pay that one from Marchesa. So they're really strong. That one I don't know. Virtue of Persistence is this one is going to be a really nice, like these are spells that have like a dual purpose. So this one's a -3/-3 until end of turn. You gain 2 life. So or it can also be this like kind of resurrection enchantment, which we really love to have like double value in Marchesa. Similarly, like these are just spells that have like double value. Brazen Borrower, really solid, right? Return a target non-land permanent to its owner's control. On its backside, you can have a nice flyer. Prismari Command, there's so many modes here. So you're just going to love all that stuff, all the modes that you can get out of Marchesa. Lots of targeting going on. And then you have these really big bombs that target in some manner. So Meringue will actually return 2 non-land permanents when it comes on the battlefield. Tyrant's Familiar will actually target an opponent's creature and deal 7 damage with Marchesa on the battlefield, which is really strong. Then you have your Archon of Cruelty, which will also be targeting your opponent's creatures. Targeting your opponent and then affecting their creatures. And then Hullbreaker Horrors, of course, is really cool. That's a lot of targeting, too, when you're just casting spells. And actually, oddly enough, you have like cards like Reanimate, Animate Dead, and Dance of the Dead, and you might not think of it, but they do target your opponent's graveyard in some instances, so those can be crimes too. And then the list of this just goes on and on. I mean, you have these really nice just removal spells. So Fatal Push, Cut Down, Rapid Hybridization, Unable to Screen. This is some nice like blue removal. Wash Away, just for some single target counterspell for outside of the command zone. You have your beautiful staples like Swan Song and Offer You Can't Refuse, Vandal Blast, Arcane Denial. Yeah, these are just really good value spells. Bitter Triumph to help build a graveyard and target. Murderous Rider for a creature that actually will take out a planeswalker or a creature. And then these lands that actually can be lands or destroy creatures or planeswalkers. And then River's Rebuke for these nice Haymaker spells. And that's pretty much the instances of crime that I wanted to go over with you guys today. And we'll go with the value too. Eventually, we'll do like another deck to kind of go over the rest of the deck and all the value. But that was all the crimes. So I appreciate you guys for joining me. Have a great day. Bye-bye.